Does God want a separation of church and state? Should Christians be voting biblical principles? Does it really matter who you vote for? Join Pastor Jerry Cook as he endeavors to answer these and many other questions over the next hour on Politics in the Pulpit. And now, Pastor Jerry Cook.
Good afternoon and welcome to Politics in the Pulpit here on your hometown station, AM 1220 and 98.1 FM. This is your holy host, the Bishop of Santa Clarita, saying thank you for tuning in to the show where we talk about two things that nobody wants to talk about, religion and politics, and yes, they do mix. This will be our second to final show of 2024 next week on the 18th. If all plans pan out, we'll have State Senator Suzette Valadares calling in, or maybe even joining us live on the show, and then we'll also close out with some stuff about Christmas. Considering I'm a pastor, I think I know a little bit about that, so we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the show next Wednesday, and then hopefully Suzette's got some interesting stuff for us since she's been sworn in about a week and a half ago, and so it's been really exciting. Yesterday, had the opportunity to go to the city council and witness the swearing in of our new council member-elect, Patsy Ayala. And also, just prior to that, we had a bunch of folks honoring Mayor Cameron Smythe for his 20-plus years, not only in the council, but also state assembly as well, and mayor's office, and had a great opportunity to connect with Cameron last night and just congratulate him on his 20-plus years, and who knows what the Lord will do with him and his family. Obviously, he's still a young man and probably has several more years ahead of him when it comes to politics. And then, of course, we got to witness Patsy Ayala swearing in yesterday. She was proud, had her mom and dad there, flew them in from I don't know where, maybe Florida, I think. And it was great to be able to see Patsy swear in yesterday, and now is part of the Santa Clarita City Council. Looking forward to working with her. In just a few moments, we're going to be joined live on the phone by Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hochman. If you remember, just a few weeks ago, we were trying to have Nathan on, and we had some technical difficulties. Today, we've got technical difficulties as well. I guess everybody's complaining about Instagram and Facebook, and we know what happens when Instagram and Facebook goes down. Our entire lives fall apart. And so we can't post, and we can't comment, and we can't be snippy. So we're going to do our best with what we've got going on today. Maybe some of it's wind-related. I don't know. But and by the way, how are you guys doing out there with that wind? I know that Malibu is raging, 4,000-acre fire currently, about 7 or 8% containment last I heard this morning. It is amazing how every time we get these Santa Anas here in Southern California, it's inevitable that these fires start. It's almost suspicious, but of course I don't want to get all conspiratorial. Talking about conspiracies, there are some drones flying over northern New Jersey, and there's been a lot of speculation about what these drones are, where they're from, and exactly why are they flying over that particular part of New Jersey. I was listening to Dan Bongino on the way into the studio, and Congressman Van Drew from New Jersey was being interviewed, and he was suggesting that these are from Iran. Again, I don't have the receipts on that. I'm not certain. I don't think Van Drew is, but that was his surmising. And exactly what is this? I don't know. Hopefully it's a fluke. Hopefully it's nothing. But obviously that is a story that is developing. The last 24 hours or so, we've been hearing about these drones over and around the northern part of New Jersey. So keep your eye on that story, and we'll have more for you if anything else comes in today. While we're waiting for Nathan Hochman, I'll talk to Jen here, because Jen, of course, is a proud mother of 3.
2.
And excuse me,
don't,
2.
Don't give me any more than
I'm
I
sorry.
need.
I thought we were together on that one.
Sometimes it feels like 3.
I'm a proud mother of 3.
Yes, you are.
Because today I'm a mom. So Christmas is around the corner, Jen.
Yeah.
So you went to Missouri for Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. Where is the family going for Christmas?
Usually the family heads to the East Coast where it's a balmy, 22 degrees. But this year we're bringing the East Coast family to us. We're going to go on a cruise.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be pleasant weather. And
You guys are so untraditional, are you?
yeah, we're trying. You know what? We're kind of making up for so much tradition for many years when my kids were younger, especially it was very traditional. Go to grandma's house or vice versa. And a few years ago, I said, let's try and spice it up a little bit, do something different. And
So where are we going in terms of the cruise?
we are heading to out of Port Canaveral on a Royal Caribbean ship, and just doing like the Caribbean, all like down.
Hoity-toity.
It should be fun.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be fun.
And the family that's coming in, you like being around them?
I do.
Okay.
I'm very fortunate.
Okay.
I'm very
it's a big
fortunate.
ship, right?
There's
you
plenty
guys
of
stay on the
space.
stern.
Yeah,
We'll stay.
Yeah,
okay.
go take the kids. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
No, I'm really fortunate. I have two sets of in-laws.
Mm-hmm.
So and both of them are just all great people and good to the kids, and that's all we need.
Yeah.
That's good.
And what have the kids? Have they given you a list of things that they want? Do they still do that, where they just write
yes.
out, 2 months in advance? Here are the 50,000 things that I want that you and Dad you need to get us.
Yes, certainly. The 12-year-old girl is an expert at list writing. So she's, and it's funny. It's this phenomenon. I'm sure you've seen news stories about it. You have a young daughter as well, about my daughter's age. They're all obsessed with Sephora and skincare and lotions and face creams. And, I tried to explain.
Ironically, so am I, Jen.
It's working.
Yeah.
Whatever you're using, keep it up.
It's called Au Natural Grease.
You have a glow
Yes.
about you. I told my daughter, you have the wrong mom for this. I'm not buying you $40 face cream, kid. You're lucky that you get the $2 lip gloss from Walgreens. So she might be a little disappointed. But yes, she has a list. The 15-year-old boy just wants cash. Cold, hard cash.
Yeah, I totally get that. So my 9-year-old, about a month ago, walked into the kitchen, actually the little breakfast nook area where we have breakfast, and she handed my wife and I were having a cup of coffee. She said, I got my Christmas list done. And there were literally, Jen, I'm not kidding, over 70 items on that list.
Gosh.
And I said, listen, your daddy's a pastor. Your mommy's a homemaker. What are you expecting here?
Yeah, where do you think this is coming
where
from?
do you think? We don't have a money tree. I'm not going to poop this out.
Right.
So the fact is, I told her, I says, and my wife agreed, honey, you need to pare this down.
Yeah.
Well, she came back with about 47 items.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
And one of which had dogs.
Okay.
And of course, we have 2 dogs.
Sure.
But she wants
you know
another
what?
one.
My daughter did that as well. We have a dog. She said, I want a playmate for our dog. It's like, sure.
She doesn't realize that technically mom and dad have to take care of the dog.
Yeah, we have the resources for that. Right.
But nevertheless, my wife was able to go out on Black Friday, and she did a lot of shopping on that day.
She was out in
She
in
was
physical
out
stores.
in earnest from
Nice.
5 a.m. to
Okay.
6 p.m. that day. I didn't see her all day long. She came back. She said, go out in the car and get all that stuff out and put the kids over in the corner of the property so they don't see what I've got.
Right.
And then that night, all the kids were gone because they were out at friends' houses and spending the night and what have you. And then we had a wrap party.
So you're finished.
We're totally finished. We have
Wow.
So we have 2 trees in our house.
That's
one small
amazing.
tree that the kids decorate exclusively, and that's where all the gifts go. And these are gifts, and these are ornaments that they've made down through the years, either in school or at home, and they can do whatever they want with that tree. And those have the bulk of the presents. And then there's what I like to call the tree that I touch. That's the Martha Stewart tree. No one gets to touch that tree. I decorate that tree. Nobody can look at that tree unless you pay an admission fee, because I really like my trees.
I appreciate that.
So
though.
it's nice. I believe in having a nice tree. So we used to have multiple trees in the house. Now we only have 2. And we used to have far more decorations in the house, but I think I've gotten a little older to where I just don't want to drag it all from the back of the property.
Yeah,
and,
that's the problem. It's a lot of work. It's fun.
It's a pain in the butt.
But it's a lot of work.
And it's satisfying when it's all done.
Mm-hmm.
We all get to, we got a lot in the house, don't get me wrong. from nativity scenes to Santa stuff to, you name it. But the problem is I got to take it down too.
Yeah, it's work.
It is.
It's work. And then you kind of have lost that excitement. It feels much different December 1st as opposed to January 1st emotionally.
And I technically have to start decorating the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I don't even get done until I'm still technically not done. But as far as I'm concerned, I told my wife today, I says, I think we're coming to a crescendo here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Exactly. So in terms of the kids, you guys are going to be on the cruise on Christmas Day.
We are. So this is the first time we've done this. Like I said, the youngest is 12. So we have we've learned last year after Christmas that things are not quite as magical with the jolly old man coming down the chimney. Mm-hmm. So now that we've kind of matured a little bit, I said, well, let's do something different. Let's try it out and see what it's like to travel over the Christmas holiday. Mm-hmm. And I've been wanting to do this for years. And so I think it'll be nice. We're going to do our own little makeshift Christmas this weekend. And then I'll just bring, a few little small gifts, 1 or 2 gifts on the ship for the kids for Christmas morning. But overall, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I've already warned them that, hey, when you're on that ship, look around. This is your Christmas gift. So don't expect 47 items on your Christmas list, daughter of mine. So we'll see. But they've been fairly warned. And I think it'll be nice. And really the most important thing is that, everybody has family time. I'm sure everybody does the same when you go to visit someone. You're in their home. They have their regular to-dos. Sometimes they have to go to work. Sometimes they have errands they have to run. And so it's a little more chaotic. So this will be nice that no one has work to answer to. Everybody's in vacation mode, so it'll be a good time.
Well, I hope you guys have a great time. I wanted to switch gears real quick as we're
bet.
waiting for DA Nathan Hochman to pay us a phone call here. Mm-hmm. The news in the last few days has been inundated by this Luigi Mangione guy, this young 25, 26-year-old guy that gunned down in cold blood the CEO healthcare dude, Brian Thompson, in New York. And it seems like the far left of the Democratic Party is actually praising the death of this CEO, even though he's got 2 kids, he's got a wife, he's got a family, obviously. And in fact, I have some atheistic Facebook friends. I shouldn't say atheistic, they are definitely atheists, that I try to connect with and have some sort of ministry with. But even they are saying, this guy had it coming to him, and who knows how many thousands of people have died because he denied them health care. What are your thoughts on this guy getting shot, in cold blood in public, and then a certain segment of our society that we have to rub shoulders with,
right,
actually think that this is justified?
I don't believe that, that you can compare the two. While I agree that people are frustrated with their health care or lack thereof and the insurance issues, I understand that. But just because, I don't know, it's difficult to explain. Just because you've been wronged in one fashion does not make it okay for you to cheer on this man's death. We're talking about 2 different things. We're talking about murder, cold blood murder, mm-hmm. like you said, and we're talking about death that is coming inadvertently, kind of in a different manner if you're not getting proper health care, if your insurance denied a claim or whatever. They're totally different. You can't compare. And even if you could compare, we're talking about murdering someone. We're talking about ending someone's life. This man has 2 little kids, I believe, too, mm-hmm. Who now are going to grow up with a father. And I just cannot, I can't find the wherewithal to say that that's anywhere near okay.
What I find interesting is just how blatant and how matter of fact these guys tend to be. Yeah. Just the other day I was watching Piers Morgan, which I do for entertainment value nowadays, and Taylor Lorenz, who used to be a Washington Post reporter, was on Piers' show. I wish we had a clip of this, but she actually used the word joy in reference to hearing about the CEO being shot. And then she had to walk that back because peers, of course, started pressing her on.
Yeah.
What do you mean joy? You have joy the man's death, the kids don't have a dad, and the wife doesn't have a husband anymore, and and then she kind of walked it back. But if you watched the interview, she's smiling. She seems a bit giddy. And I'm like, that can't be a one-off. There's got to be people out there that are on this fringy left that I believe November 5th was a rebuke against. Mm-hmm. And these guys, because the election didn't go their way, now they're looking at this as like their little victory. And I just think it's sick.
It's gross.
That
Yes.
people would, and again, let me paint a picture. So my father died 5 years ago of fourth stage cancer. I had never had to deal with insurance companies until my dad's, demise. And thankfully, technically, my wife dealt with them more than I did. I was going to go nuts. But he was with a particular healthcare company that I don't think did their best for my father. Did I have anger in my heart for that company? The answer is yes. I believe that they slow-walked a lot of the processes that he needed in order to get a biopsy. They did that. It took them 6 weeks for a biopsy to get done, and then almost 6 weeks for the biopsy results. In the entire time, he's just going downhill.
Yeah.
And by the time the biopsy came, we already knew that he had some sort of cancer, but finally they said, you've got fourth stage lung cancer, and here are the options. There are no options. Had we got this earlier? Well, earlier, this has been like 2.5 months in this whole process. So yeah, I was angry, I was frustrated, but never once, and I say this as God is my witness, I never thought about taking my guns and going to the CEO's office or going into the offices where these guys work and blasting them all away.
Yeah.
I don't think that way.
Right.
But unfortunately, there are people that do.
Well, the comments, and I'm sure you've seen that too, are overwhelmingly in favor of this whole scenario. And I'm talking about obviously comments on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, wherever you use social media. You don't have to look very far to see someone who is applauding it, and then people are liking their comment. And that's disturbing. We're talking about a dead guy.
It's not only disturbing, but it's funny how these guys, and I'll just give the example of these two atheist friends that I have on Facebook. The way they framed the argument was these guys killed thousands of people by denying claims,
right,
or what have you. Mm. And they had it coming. And then I just pushed back a little bit in the comments, and I said, so should we just go ahead and bring all the healthcare CEOs against a wall and single file, and let's just shoot them all? I mean, let's just get it over with now. Yeah. And of course, they tend to push back on that. But I'm like, but what's wrong with that if your analysis is this man's death is vindicated, mm-hmm, but all these other guys are also equally guilty?
Right.
And so I just think, and to go back to November 5th for a minute, as much as, I like to say that it's Trump and his policies that may have gotten him elected, and that's a certain part of it, I'm sure. But I really think that the majority of Americans that voted just wanted to push back on this stupidity. And I think that part of the party, of the Democratic Party, became so vocal and became so animated that they pushed average middle-of-the-road Democrats to act like lunatics themselves, and then they themselves got a bit of a butt spanking by not being reelected or barely eking it out. And hopefully, for our sakes as normal Americans here in the United States of America, hopefully this election has brought some, semblance of sanity back.
I hope so. Obviously, that's yet to be seen. But I think part of the issue, too, and we're talking about these comments that are applauding this man's death, I think a lot of it also is the fact that social media is gross in general, no matter what topic you're talking about. I've tried to explain to my son when he's on social media, against my better judgment, of course, as most parents probably feel, he's looking at stuff, and I tell him people will find a negative comment, a negative, thought on anything. You could have a story about puppy dogs and someone will complain about it and someone will say something awful. And it's funny, but it's really not that far-fetched. And so I think, a lot of it is just people feel invisible, or they feel anonymous, I guess is a better word. They feel like they can get away with saying disgusting things that you normally wouldn't say in a group of people in front of you physically.
Yeah, coffee house discussions are out, and the Facebook keyboard warriors tend to be the guys that say all the things that, frankly, probably should put them in prison. But nevertheless, you're listening to Politics in the Pulpit here on your hometown station. We're still waiting for District Attorney Nathan Hochman to give us a call here. I do know that earlier his office has called and said that there was a little bit of an issue, so I'm assuming we're kind of going through that right now. But Lord willing, he'll be calling us here at the bottom of the hour. So when we come back, Lord willing, we'll be talking to D.A. Nathan Hochman. You're listening to Politics in the Pulpit here on your hometown station. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back here. This is your holy host, Pastor Jerry Cook, on Politics in the Pulpit here on your hometown station. We are still waiting for District Attorney Nathan Hochman to call. I know that he has a big meeting in Orange County today with the Orange County District Attorney as well, and I think they got a big announcement. Hopefully I can get a little bit of an idea of what that is, but Lord willing, he'll be calling here in the next few moments. Breaking news just came across the wire here for December 11th. FBI Director Christopher Wray announces his resignation. Of course, this was to be expected. By the way, Christopher Wray was actually put in place there by former President Trump, but of course, the incoming administration, the Trump administration, doesn't care much for Christopher Wray. And so let me just read a little bit. It says, FBI Director Christopher Wray accepts the inevitable and does not even put up a fight. He can't. He announced today that he will be stepping down as the Federal Bureau of Investigation Director following President-elect Donald J. Trump's immense displeasure with how the agency has been run under his tenure. Wray said he'd be officially out the door in January. And then it goes on to say this. It says, give me a second here. It says here that one of the things that he was concerned about, of course, is the incoming FBI director should Kash Patel get pushed through. He was actually very displeased with that particular choice by incoming Trump administration. But here's the thing. I think the former president should be able to have the cabinet that he wants. And yes, there should be some checks and balances and all those kinds of things. And yes, there should be a little bit of pushback. But I find it amazing, and I'm just amazed in my own mind that the majority of the pushback that the president is getting right now are from senators that are in red states, not just red states, but deep red states. Now, a few days ago, Joni Ernst, senator from Iowa, was the one who was concerned about Pete Hegseth and was expressing doubts whether or not she would actually confirm him. And then for 2 or 3 days, there was a huge Bruin Hobb with Charlie Kirk and Bongino and all these right-wing talking heads going on and on about Joni Ernst and kind of applying the conservative strong arm pressure, basically to get her to yield, and she did, and I think that's good because Joni Ernst is from a state that President Trump won in 2016. He won in 2020, both by 8 to 9 points, and now this year, November 5th, won the state of Iowa by over 14 points. So these are deep red states. And again, these are senators from deep red states and congresspeople from deep red states. I don't understand why these types of individuals from these very safe districts have to put up these types of fights. I understand maybe if you're in a district that's purple. I understand maybe if you're in a district that trends more to the Democrats and where you have to kind of play it a bit more. But what I don't understand is that if you're part of a state that is red and the president has won that state by double digits, and yet you are going to put up a fight for Secretary of Defense, and you're going to put up a fight for FBI director. And what's funny is if you go back to some of these individuals when they ran initially, they were all about, quote, draining the swamp. And, of course, that wasn't the exact language that they used at that time. That seems to be more the language that Trump used in 2016 and 2020 and now in 2024. But they used similar type of language to say we need to clean out the rat's nest of the Senate and the House. And then once they get in there, something, the attitude and the environment of being in the Senate and in the House, I don't know what it is, but they drink the water and they kind of change. And I think that frustrates us as Republican conservatives the most, because we want these individuals to not only run on what they ran on, but then to actually implement what they ran on. And it's like they're brave when they run, and then they're wimpy when they get in office. And it's frustrating because we want someone who is consistent, someone who runs on principle and actually governs by that same principle. And when we get the DA calling in, one of the things I'm going to ask the DA is something that has happened here in Los Angeles. We know that one of the picks for President Trump in terms of border czar is Tom Homan. I like to jokingly say that if Popeye the Sailor Man had a dad, it would be Tom Homan. And Tom Homan is a no-nonsense kind of guy. And if you want to see Tom Homan in action, just YouTube him and watch him in the first administration from 2016 sparring with Senate Democrats, specifically with AOC. That one is classic. You ought to really watch that just to kind of get a flavor of what is coming in 2025. But one of the things that these Democratic states like California, where I am broadcasting from, is just the other day, Mayor Karen Bass from Los Angeles and the Los Angeles City Council voted to make Los Angeles City a sanctuary city. And Tom Homan was, I believe, in Chicago yesterday or the day before, and was there for some sort of event, and basically said, if you're a elected official and you are standing in the way and harboring illegal criminals in your city or in your state, then it's very possible that you can be charged. Title 8, USC 1324A, is something that Tom Homan has been banding about for the last few days here. And under Title 8, there is a section called harboring. This is section 1324A1, and it says, quote, makes it an offense for any person who, knowing or in reckless disregard of the fact that an alien has come to, entered, or remains in the United States in violation of law, conceals, harbors, or shields from detection, or attempts to conceal, harbor, or shield from detection such alien in any place, including any building or any means of transportation. So essentially what this Title 8 is saying is that whether you're just an average Joe harboring somebody who is a criminal illegal, who's actually committed a crime, or you are an elected official doing that, you are subject to an offense. Jen, let me ask you a question. I think as Americans, we have a lot of grace on people who come to the United States of America fleeing a tyrannical system, a dictatorial nation, maybe wanting some sort of better life. Mm-hmm. I mean, America is, and I think we can say that, greatest nation on the face of the earth. I don't want to leave it. When I do leave it, I want to come back. But if you're a criminal, if you're a sex trafficker, if you've committed a murder, if you're doing something nefarious like that, do you think it's logical that we should deport those individuals?
Absolutely. Yes. We've had stories before, and I'm going to butcher the story a little bit, but paraphrasing, there was a young woman who was killed, I believe, in San Francisco a handful of years ago by an illegal immigrant. And you can't help but do the math, do the domino effect. If he was not allowed to be here illegally, she would still be alive today.
Yeah.
So that's extremely infuriating when you have people who are here illegally and violent on top of that. I understand, like you said, that people want to be here. By all means, please come in, but let's do it legally. Because then it gets into the whole thing of now you're possibly taking away jobs from Americans who need them. That domino effect there, and I brought this story up. I'm glad that you had included me in this conversation because I just saw this the other day.
Well, I was looking at your body language and I figured Jen wants to say something.
Well, she's either playing a video game on her phone or she's got something good.
Or she's watching Wizard of Oz.
Always, yes. But speaking of Missouri, my home state, there was a lawmaker there who had introduced the bill to give $1,000 to anyone who turned in illegal migrants. And while I understand the thinking behind that, and I get the notion of it, I think that can be a little bit dangerous, though, because then it kind of turns into almost like not a vigilante, but people taking the law into their own hands.
Yeah.
And then you've got people who are fearful of their safety and their well-being when that's not what I think is okay. I don't want people to feel that they're in danger when they're here, if they're, upstanding people. So that the whole situation in Missouri can be a little tricky, I think.
Yeah.
The idea of it, okay, but let's finesse that a little bit.
What I think is amazing, though, is we live in California where the state trended more red in this particular election cycle. Trump flipped 10 blue counties to red. More raw votes for President Trump in L.A. County than in 2020 and in 2016. And he got more votes in this election cycle than he did in 2020. And Kamala Harris actually got less votes than Joe Biden in this election cycle than in 2020. So obviously more folks came out for Trump. What I find amazing is now you have Gavin Newsom, you have A.G. Bonta and others trying to make this a sanctuary state. And so that's one of the things I'm going to ask the DA as well, as I believe you just called in. District Attorney Nathan Hochman, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm sorry for the delay. I was just caught up in a meeting, but excited to be on your program.
Nathan, I know that you are a busy man, so you are forgiven on that. So let me just kind of get through as much as I can here with you, and I, again, appreciate very much your time. Now that you've been in office for a full week, what are you seeing while in office that perhaps you did not see or take into account while you were running? In other words, now that you've got the hood up, what are you seeing now that you're in office?
Well, here's the good news, is that I had heard that the group of prosecutors, there's over 750 of them, were good at their job. Now I've had the chance to meet a whole bunch of them, and they are very good at their job. They're a very talented, diverse group of people who were stymied in their abilities over the last 4 years to deliver justice to the residents of this county by the DA himself and the DA's policies. And what I did literally on my first day in office is I reversed and rescinded the 9 special directives that Gascon came in on, where he said that there were certain crimes and certain criminals that would no longer be prosecuted, even if the facts and the law justified the prosecution. I rescinded all those special directives and told the prosecutors, go do your job. Apply your thousands of years of collective prosecutorial experience to look at each case individually, look at the individual defendant, the crime committed, and the impact on the victim, to go ahead and where appropriate, put the people who are true threats to our public safety in jail. And if someone's a first-time nonviolent offender, I said, look, they've got to still pay their debt back to society for violating society's laws. But that's the situation where potentially non-prison alternatives like community service, restitution, or diversion program come into play. I've called this approach the hard work middle because it requires a lot of work. We call it the hard middle in the office. And it is an approach that replaces extreme policies of decarceration, which is what Gascon was doing, or mass incarceration, with these proportional, common sense, individual oriented type of criminal accountability. And so far, so good. The troops are saying, hallelujah. I mean, it's a breath of fresh air for them to go back to do the job they signed up for. And I am thrilled with the quality of the lawyering that I have found in the office.
So you would say that it would be fair to say the word that comes to mind is relief for these individuals.
I think, I think relief is certainly one of the words. Excitement, too.
Yeah.
My first day in the office when I got on the floor that I'm now going to spend the next 4 years on, over 40 people came out and congratulated me and said, look, we are ready to serve, ready to get back to work. And I said, that's fantastic. And that feeling has been throughout the 2,100 people that work for the DA's office. I've now been working hand in glove with Sheriff Luna of the LA Sheriff's Department, with LA Police Chief Jim McDonnell, with the 45 different police chiefs across the county. And I told them, I said, the one thing you can never say going forward is that the DA has your hands tied. Because right now the DA's office is open for business. Bring us good cases beyond a reasonable doubt, levels of evidence, legally admissible evidence, and we'll give every case a fair shake.
I know you've only been district attorney for about a week now, Nathan, but how long do you think it will take for LA County to see a measurable change now that common sense policies are back in place?
I think, interestingly, it's when criminals really understand and feel this message. It certainly probably took them a year or two under my predecessor to understand that really the policies had been loosened, and all of a sudden the crime started to escalate dramatically. As soon as they understand that I'm not bluffing, that if they do these crimes they will be held accountable, that prosecutors who used to in the past have to avert their eyes from certain crimes are now going to charge those crimes where the facts and the law merit it. I think that word will get out to the criminal community as they see more and more of their cohorts being held accountable for their actions. And the goal ultimately is not to fill the prisons to the breaking point. If anything, that's the failure of the criminal justice system. The goal is to deter the criminals from committing the crimes in the first place because they understand that there are real consequences on the other side of the line. And if we accomplish that, we've saved literally hundreds or thousands of victims from going through the experience of being a victim.
I'm going to ask you to put on your political hat just for a second here and maybe look into your political crystal ball, if you would. Is California, obviously California has been a one-party state for quite a while. There's a supermajority up in Sacramento. But we saw on November 5th some interesting changes here, sea changes here in California. So my question to you, District Attorney Hochman, is California turning a corner when it comes to extreme liberal progressive policies, which seems to be why other states tend to make fun of us because we're such an extreme liberal progressive state that enacts extreme liberal progressive policies? And let me give you an example. Mayor Shang Tao in Oakland was recalled because of her fecklessness there as the mayor. District Attorney Pamela Price was recalled. Mayor London Breed in San Francisco, even though she tried to moderate herself in the last year or so, was booted out of office. On top of that, President Trump ends up flipping 9 out of 10 counties from blue to red. And, of course, you yourself won a resounding victory against George Gascon. And Prop 36 was voted in by 2/3 vote, which is almost unheard of here in the state of California. So in your estimation, Nathan, do you think California is moderating and kind of turning a corner from some of those more extreme liberal progressive policies?
So I think the list that you have given proves out what I experienced on the campaign trail, that safety truly is a crossover political issue, well, certainly in 2024 and probably for the foreseeable future. And by that I mean that, I ran as an independent with a whole position saying that, look, politics needs to get out of the DA's office. But in the process, I spoke to people across the political spectrum, ultra-left liberals, independents, very conservative Republicans, Black, white, Latino, Asian groups, every different religion out there. And what they told me, almost to a person, is that everyone cares about the safety for themselves and their family. Everyone wants, to go out the door, to go to parks, to go to beaches, to go on subways or buses without the fear that they're going to be attacked or the fear that their home's going to get broken into if they're a store or the fear that the store is going to be ransacked that day. And so when you propose, as I did, and as Proposition 36 did, common sense policies that say, look, we're going to hold people accountable. We're not going to engage in extreme mass incarceration policies for mass incarceration's sake, but we're going to make sure that we send a strong deterrent message out there to criminals that if they want to continue engaging in this activity, they will be held accountable. I think that message is the crossover message. It's interesting. I won 85 out of 88 cities in LA County. That hadn't been done in a very, very long time in any race for DA going back decades. And so I think what the message I take from that is that there really is this overwhelming concern when it comes to making sure that the DA is doing his job, that law enforcement is doing their job, that victims, if they get harmed, they can call 911 and someone will answer the phone and get them justice for the harm they've suffered. And the one group I'm sure that didn't vote for me are criminals. But, my goal, again, is to deal with them fairly and hopefully encourage them to stop committing crimes. And then we'll go back to the year 2014, 10 years ago, where we had a record. It was considered the safest year in the last 50 years because criminals in record numbers weren't committing crimes. That's ultimately the goal.
Well, one of my jobs is to call Merriam-Webster and put your picture and George Gascon's picture after the word route, because there was no doubt that that was a route. And so when you list all the cities that you won, there is no doubt that there is a mandate there. So we are glad that you are where you are. A couple more questions, and then we'll let you go. By the way, what's the, if you're able and privy to say, I know that you're going to be doing a press conference or something with the Orange County DA. What's going on out there?
So with the Orange County DA, he's Todd Spitzer has really been an excellent DA down in Orange County. He's worked with the sheriff down there, Dallin Barnes, who's one of the best sheriffs in California. And they've done their best to send a very consistent, fair, and impartial message to criminals as well, that if you want to enter Orange County and think about committing crime, they will catch you, and you will be prosecuted accordingly. So what I've told Todd is I said, look, we are going to do work with not just Orange County, but we'll throw in Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego, Ventura, Santa Barbara, and really present a unified front for criminals throughout all of Southern California. But there's no part of any of these counties that they can seek refuge. And again, do our best to drive them out of the entire Southern California area.
Well, two of the largest counties, obviously, in Southern California, working in tandem like that, I think is going to make a huge, huge impact. So excited to hear about that a little bit later. One last question, or maybe one or two last questions here. Obviously, we have a brand new administration coming in on January 20th of 2025, and Donald Trump has tapped Tom Hochman as border czar. And we just heard that Mayor Bass and the city council has basically said, you know, L.A. is going to be a sanctuary city. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on Title VIII and about harboring, and what exactly can be done in terms of the Trump administration and Tom Hochman in particular. And what is this notion of harboring anyone who is here illegally, who has also committed a crime? What is your take on somebody who is here illegally and has committed a heinous crime, maybe child trafficking, maybe rape, maybe murder? What is D.A. Hochman's take on that individual?
Sure. That individual, for the crime they committed in L.A. County, will absolutely be prosecuted, held fully accountable. And what's interesting with certain crimes, they are carve-outs to not just the sanctuary city ordinance passed by L.A. City this year, but to the 2017 sanctuary state law. That was SB 54 that got passed in 2017 that governs the entire state. So there are carve-outs in that law that says for certain violent and serious crimes, local law enforcement can cooperate with the federal immigration authorities in connection with those particularly convicted individuals. And so when I looked at the LA City ordinance, interestingly enough, it did very little more than the state sanctuary laws. They got tested, by the way, in the late 2018 or 19 by the Trump administration in the courts, and the courts upheld those laws. So I don't know if the Trump administration is going to challenge them again. If they do, they'll probably have to take them all the way to the Supreme Court to reach a different result. That may or may not happen. I have no idea. But whatever the laws are in place at the time, as the DA, that is my job to uphold them.
Well, DA Nathan Hochman, we're so thankful that you were able to call in today. I know that your time was limited and you had a meeting, and Lord willing, everything goes well today with your meeting with Orange County DA as well. And we thank you very much for standing up for sanity and implementing some common sense policies and bringing some sanity back to LA County.
Well, very much enjoy this opportunity to speak with you. Look forward to our next time. And again, really appreciate your commitment to public safety throughout this entire county.
District Attorney Nathan Hochman, thank you so much. God bless you, my friend.
All right. And you as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm glad we finally got to get that conversation on air, because I was a little worried, folks, that we were gonna come up short for a second time there. But we're glad that we're at least be able to have them for about the 12 or 13 minutes that we're able to interview them. Next Wednesday, if everything works out, we will have State Senator Suzette Valladares calling in, and then we're going to finish out the show. The next week is the final show of 2024. We're going to talk a little bit about Christmas, and so we'll try to do that next week, Wednesday. So thankful for you tuning in today. Next week, we'll see you at same bat time, same bat channel, 2 o'clock here on your hometown station. This is Pastor Cook saying thank you for tuning in.